Rounds 5 and 6 of the GB4 Championship brings us to the home of British motorsport here at Silverstone. This where a lot of the drivers grew up watching their heroes racing in Formula One. Now they're going to be racing around the Grand Prix circuit themselves. A lot of excited drivers down this paddock. Of course, we've already been out this season. We had the first 3 rounds at Alton Park in mixed conditions. Let's have a look back at what happened.
The GB4 season got underway on a beautiful sunshine on a Saturday afternoon in Alton Park, with Tom Mills being attacked by his teammate into the first corner. The 87 of Fairburn would take the lead through that first corner, and the battle for the podium was on. Webster versus Queen on that race through the mid part of the lap. Same with Mills getting down the inside of his teammate, heading through the likes of Cascades and such. It was a tight battle, but it was just about won by Fairburn, then Mills, and Webster behind. As down towards the first corner, Tom Mills would lead after a comfortable start, with Cooper Webster starting from the pit lane. There was side-by-side for the first crop backwards after an issue. The 2 elite motorsports drivers of Irfan and Reynolds were battled down to the first corner, and in the slip and slide they were almost switching positions. Various bits of side-by-siders. Burgoyne was down the inside of a damaged Fairburn. Now it's perfect for Tom Mills at the front. Meanwhile, less so for Conzo on his rise back up the order down the inside of Dylan Hotchin. Tom Mills then would come out of the final corner to take a second consecutive victory for KMR Sport. Tom Mills in top of this one, ahead of McNeely and ahead of Irfan as well.
Initially challenged by Jack Clifford, but Sid Smith would have the early lead. Conzo in 3rd place, and then some challenges at the further back as Reynolds looked up the inside but couldn't get a move done. Conzo going up the inside of Shell Oil's corner, and then Liam McNeely, knowing he had pace, following him through, and then also the Harry Reynolds in that elite motorsport car following through, and then the sun came out and we had some fighting further down the field as well. But Conzo, unfortunately for Alford Motorsport, just dropping a wheel on the exit, losing it and ending his race a little bit early. And Harry Burgoyne Jr. finding their way through, but Liam McNeely with a win. He'll, as you can see, rightfully so, delighted with that.
Brilliant racing there at Alton Park, wasn't it, for the first 3 rounds? For the drivers, a lot of them, their first single-seater racing, a very clean racing throughout all 3 races, wasn't it? I mean, the first race was like a kart race, wasn't it? 6 for the lead. Yeah. And we're seeing a good head-to-head form, I think, here between Tom Mills and Liam McNeely with the new team, Fox Motorsport.
Yeah, Alton Park is always a bit of a sort of baptism of fire at the first round of the season. It's a very tricky and daunting circuit, especially for those less experienced drivers who've come straight out of karts, for example, which is a lot of the grid. But no, it was really good to see the racing. It was a lot of side-by-side action throughout the field. The GB4 Championship never fails to deliver on good racing. But we're at Silverstone Grand Prix this weekend, a very different challenge for the drivers, a different circuit to drive, a lot more high speed, a lot less technical, so we're looking forward to seeing how that goes.
And given we had 14 new drivers out there in what was possibly their first single-seater race, I mean, very clean racing throughout, and I think for me that was the most impressive thing.
Yeah, it's easy to forget that a lot of these drivers are only in their mid to late teens. A lot of them have not done a huge amount of car racing at all, and they're doing excellent in providing great racing, and hopefully that will continue this weekend. We saw last year at Silverstone Grand Prix amazing racing, slipstreaming racing, a bit like a Formula Ford or a kart race, as you mentioned. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes today in the 2 races.
GB4 already delivering. I'm sure that will be the case around this Silverstone Grand Prix circuit this weekend for rounds 5 and 6 as well. Let's have a look at the track in a little more detail with our commentator, Lewis McGlade.
This weekend, we head off to the home of British motorsport, to a circuit which straddles the county lines of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire. It's a fantastic venue that stood the test of time in the world of motorsport, opened back in the late 1940s. It has been a true test for many of our drivers for years and years and years, courtesy of some of the most incredible corners in world motorsports: Magus, Beckett and Chapel, Stowe, going around Club, up through Abbey. It is a fantastic venue. Of course, the start-finish straight for us out of Woodcote down towards Copse Corner this weekend over the 18 turns. Some of the most well-known in all of the world, including the end of the Wellington Straight, where you've got the Brooklands Corner. 5.9 kilometres or 3.6 miles in old money as they wrestle their way around the circuit, which has very little when it comes to elevation change, courtesy of it being an old airfield back in the 40s. And that is a look around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We'll be racing this weekend.
So there we go. That's going to be the challenge for them this weekend, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. I mean, a lot of these drivers would have come here as spectators on Grand Prix weekends or on British GT weekends. Now they're here racing it themselves. I mean, what must that feel like? You did it yourself. How did it feel for you?
Well, it's great the fact that the GB4 Championship gets to race on the British Grand Prix circuit, the full Grand Prix layout, which not many single-seater series at this level get to do, and a great experience for the drivers to race on a Formula 1 circuit, because that's something they'll want to do later on in their career. And you know, the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit is used in GB3, FIA F3, F2, and of course Formula 1, as well as pretty much every other international series. So yeah, great to do so early in their career, and also a great place to race these cars.
And these cars slipstream very well, don't they?
Yes.
We've got long straights here. It's a wide circuit. Are we going to see a lot of overtaking this weekend, do you think?
Based on the evidence from last season, I think yes, because I remember I think it was like 5 or 6 changes for the lead per lap for one of the races last year, and I expect exactly the same this year. You know, we've got 14 new drivers, you've mentioned, Tom Mills being the only person that stayed on. Tom Mills had a difficult time at Silverstone Grand Prix here last year with engine issues, but he'll be looking to be very strong this weekend. He's had great pace in the wet and the dry, but I think he'll be challenged by, for example, the likes of Liam McNeely and all the other teams and drivers, because it's been so close. But no, I'm very much looking forward to this race weekend, and a very different challenge to Walton Park, which is a narrow and technical circuit.
Well, GB4 is a very international championship. We've got drivers from as far as India, like Ruhan Alva with Fortec, and Scotland, like Harry Burgoyne Jr. for Graham Brunton Racing. I caught up with them ahead of their Silverstone Grand Prix debut. Ruhan Alva, it's fantastic to have you in the GB4 Championship. We're now in the second round. I'm sure getting used to the weather now. Just tell us a little bit more about your background and what's brought you to the GB4 Championship.
Yeah, so I started off in karts like most drivers do. I actually started off in the UK with Fusion Motorsports, and so from here I started racing in India, won a couple of championships there, a bit in Italy as well, and a couple of grand finals, international finals in karting. Then 2021 I did a round in the UAE F4. And yeah, that was without any testing, so it was a good experience, good learning. And last year I was doing the Indian Racing League, which actually went pretty well. For the experience I have in a single seat, I feel like it was pretty strong for performance. And yeah, here this year, because I think it's a really good competitive championship, and a full season in single seaters is something that would really help me out.
Yes, I saw you did take part in the Rotax Match Challenge Round Finals, so representing your country, that must have been a really proud moment, but also a very good experience for you racing on an international stage like that.
Yeah, I mean, we were really quick actually that weekend, but we had a couple of issues, a bit of bad luck, a lot of crashes, because over there it's like a big pack of karts, and everyone's really closely matched and everyone's fighting for the win, so it gets a bit intense. So yeah, really good learning experience over there.
And you talked about F4 UAE, the Motorsport Games Cup as well, the F4 Cup, and the Indian Racing League. I mean, those races, how do you think they've helped you prepare for jumping in GB4? I know it's a tough challenge, but do you think that's helped you get ready for this?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very different car to the other cars I've driven, but it definitely has helped me, because compared to the other drivers, I'm really down on seat time and track time. I'm still learning the track, learning the car, but we're getting up there. Yesterday, day before actually, we were really strong. And yesterday was not too great, had a bit of an off in the first practice. But yeah, hoping to stay strong today.
Of course, those championships you're racing on the other side of the world. How have you found now coming back to this side of the world where you once were in karting, and how have you found the track so far?
I actually love this track a lot. I'm really enjoying it. Really fast flowing track, and yeah, it really suits me quite a bit. And yeah, it's really fun.
Talk us through any sections in particular here. Obviously we're at Silverstone where we have the British Grand Prix every year. Any sections in particular that you're really enjoying?
I mean, Cobbs, Maggots, Beckett's are really fast corners, which I like really enjoy, especially in a car with a lot of downforce and aero. It's really fun through there.
And do you think we can get a lot of overtaking here now this weekend? We've got a lot of long straights. Do you think that can lead to a lot of overtaking?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're going to see a lot of 3 wide moments as well, because one guy's going to be slipstreaming off the other, and it's going to be a bit chaotic, I think, but yeah, a lot of overtaking probably.
And you're with a great team in Fortec running across both championships as well, a team with great pedigree. How have they helped you get up to speed?
It's been great working with them. They're really experienced. I've learned a lot from them, the drivers as well, and my engineer. Learned a lot, and slowly just developing my driving as well.
And goals for this season, have you got any in particular, or are you just taking it round by round?
Yeah, I mean, by the end of the season, I want to be top 3 in the championship, but we need to slowly work towards it, obviously, because we're slowly learning, and that's the main goal, to learn.
And this weekend as well, I mean, we've got mixed conditions, but you're looking forward to a challenge?
Yeah, I mean, I've never driven this car in the rain, but in the Indian Racing League in the rain, we were actually really quick. So if I can do what I did there over here in the rain as well, then that would be great.
Well, best of luck, and thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
The 2023 car then is the same as we were racing in 2022. The Tata's F4 T014, an affordable entry for a lot of these drivers that are moving their way out of karting into slicks and wings. An engine of a 1.4 litre, 160 brake horsepower engine that's sending all of that to the rear wheels, being slowed down by Brembo brakes. Taking a look at the rear of the car, we can see the 6-speed sequential gearbox, all controlled by paddles on the rear of the steering wheel. And as we move around, we can take a look at that rear wing. Adjustable over 2 profiles. They've got a little bit that they can do with that to make the car more oversteery, faster in a straight line as well. Tyres, the Pirelli tyres that we were running back in 2022, these they get 6 tyres over a race weekend, and the weight of the car being 570 kilos, definitely on the lighter side of things. We'll take a look at the twin wishbone suspension, adjustable for all of the drivers and teams, as well as the adjustable front wing as well. All of these setup changes, all the drivers will be using to maximise their performance across a race weekend.
So, Harry Burgoyne Jr., really great to have you in the GB4 Championship. First of all, tell us how it's been stepping up from karting, top-level karting, to single-seater racing.
Well, from karting to this, it's very different. Like with the brakes, the power and everything, where karting you've only got your rear brakes, so it's very different.
What was the biggest challenge? I mean, obviously you raced World Championship, you know, got podiums World Championship-wise, karting-wise. What was the biggest challenge stepping into single seaters?
I think it's just like the way the car is and all that. So much more different to a kart, the way it handles and everything. But yeah, it's really good.
So obviously we've had our first race at Alton Park. Tell us how that experience was overall for you.
Yeah, it was good. Like we got a couple of good positions just to start off the year, which we're just hoping to keep on getting better and better. So we just after like the race 1, we struggled with the start, so kind of got them sorted out, and then just try and progress. The last race 3, was better, how it was drying up towards the end, and managed to get a couple more places at the end of the race.
And have you enjoyed the challenge as a team? I know you're the only driver in Graham Brunton Racing at the moment, but have you enjoyed that challenge as a team, taking on the rest of the guys?
Yeah, it's been a good challenge. Like, you've not got much teammates, so like your data and all that's a bit harder. So you just kind of need to learn yourself.
And let's talk about Silverstone now. We're here, you know, where the British Grand Prix takes place. I imagine this is a track you've watched for many years, watching things like Formula 1, Formula 2. How was it going out on the circuit for the first time?
Yeah, it was a really good track. So fast, flowing. The corners and all that are a lot different to Alton Park. Like, Alton Park's a lot tighter. Here's very wide, flowy. So.
Any sections in particular of the circuit that you enjoy the most?
I like all the track, basically. Probably one of my favourites so far.
And do you think here we're going to get a lot of overtaking? We've got a lot of long straights here in these cars. We saw some close racing at Alton Park. Do you think we're going to get a lot more of the same here?
Yeah, it'd be harder to pull away here and everything with the slipstream, and the corners and everything are so fast and flowing, so you'll be able to send moves up the inside and round the outside.
And I remember watching you internationally in karting. You got on the podium in the World Championships back in 2020. You think you can pull on that racing experience that you had in karting and be able to use it now at a track like this weekend?
Yeah, definitely.
And overall, you're looking forward to the rest of the season as well. I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic championship, isn't
it?
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining us, Harry, and best of luck this weekend. And welcome everyone down to the assembly area. We are getting ready to go for round 5 of the GB4 Championship. If you just peer over to your right there, you can see the run down the Wellington Straight. We're going to see plenty of overtaking through here, no doubt. The people in the BRDC grandstand, it is filling up. They are getting ready to watch some GB4 action. Let's go and chat to some drivers. Piers Pryor alongside me as always. I want to speak to Colin Queen very quickly. Starting on the front row, Colin, you must be really excited for this one.
Oh, definitely. No, definitely excited. I can't believe that. I'm definitely about to go race at Silverstone GP. Yesterday we were quite quick in the rain, but conditions are much better today. We're all starting on new tires, so it'll be quite the challenge. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to racing and hopefully for a win.
I imagine this is something you've been looking forward to for a very long time as well. We didn't get to do it yesterday, but the wait is over now.
Yeah, definitely. It's unfortunate what happened yesterday. The track looked like a river, so it was a bit dangerous to run on. But I'm glad we're here racing today. The weather's held up quite nicely. So yeah, the third race should be.
Thank you for speaking with us, Colin. Best of luck for the race as well. Let's go over to Piers Pryor, who is with Tom Mills.
Yeah, we've got Tom Mills here. Tom, pole position, perfect place to start this race. Of course, we didn't get to go racing yesterday. You're hoping to make up for lack of race today?
Yeah, it would have been nice to get a wet race yesterday. I think our pace was pretty good as shown by the double pole in quali, but I think by the end of testing we were there on dry pace as well, so if I can get a good start then we'll see what happens. Racing around Silverstone is always brilliant, so wherever you get off the line you can usually race back through.
We saw last year here that the racing was crazy, of course slipstreaming, it was like 4 or 5 changes for the lead. Are you expecting the same thing today?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I think in the first round here I went from like 4th or 5th to the lead in just through Max Beckett, so literally anything can happen at this place, so it always produces great fun racing, so we'll see what happens.
Brilliant, Tom. Thanks very much for chatting to us. Good luck in the race, Chris.
Yeah, let's walk and talk, shall we, Piers? So let's go through the grid. So Tom Mills pole, Colin Queen alongside. Then we have Jeremy Fairbairn here in the number 37. Cooper Webster will be on the outside of row number 2. Row number 3, we've got Harry Reynolds and Jack Clifford. Definitely two drivers you think could move forward?
Yeah, Harry Reynolds was very racy at Alton Park. I think, again, with the slipstreaming that we're going to have here, he can definitely make his moves through the field.
We're sort of walking sideways here, aren't we? This is, I'm kind of liking it. I know you wanted to have a chat with Jason Conzo,
Yes.
so I'll let you go and do that now.
Jason, can we have a quick word? Jason, I think we believe this may be for now your final round in the GB4 Championship. You're going to go out with a bang in a good way?
Oh yeah, I'm super excited. The drivers, the events, the whole Roma, everything about this is amazing. So I'm hoping to add to the excitement as much as I can.
Brilliant. And what do you reckon you can do in this race?
If I get a good jump, hopefully I'm going to pick up 2-3 places in the start and hang with the pack. Really, we want to push away from the back as much as we can before we start fighting, and yeah, hopefully pick up a couple positions.
Well, Jason, good luck in the race. Thanks for chatting to us. I think Chris has got a word with Liam McNeely over there.
Yes, I'm going to have a quick chat with Liam McNeely. Liam, I know not where you would have wanted to be, but you're comfortable, confident you can make some moves here?
Yeah, I mean, we've had good pace in the dry, so we'll just see what we can do and see how many places we can make up. Only ways forward.
I mean, around the Silverstone Grand Prix as well, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for overtaking. Did you watch that GB3 race? Get any ideas from that one?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of places to overtake, and I mean, there's going to be some chaos up the front, so we'll see what happens.
Good stuff. That's what we want to hear. Best of luck to Liam McNeely. He goes from P10. The driver who started P10 in GB3, by the way, finished in 2nd place. Piers. Oh yes. Wow, there you are. Why don't you go and have a chat with another driver?
Yeah, let's jump in and have a grab a word with Aditya Kulkarni. Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, the first race of the weekend. Didn't get to go yesterday due to the difficult conditions. Dry today and slick tyres. Should be a good fun race.
Yeah, it was disappointing to miss yesterday, but it was raining too hard. But I'm looking forward to having a quick dry run and my first race around Silverstone.
You're looking forward to the first race around Silverstone. Of course, it's very cool to be racing here in a Slicks and Wings car up where we have the British Grand Prix in just a few weeks' time.
Yeah, it's a big step up from karting, but I think I'm ready to take it on.
Brilliant. Well, good luck in the race. Hopefully you'll go well. Of course, we've seen some great form from
over here.
Chris,
Hello.
after you.
And I'm with Dylan Hodgkin. Dylan, racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. I know you were working on your car before this weekend as well. How does it feel now to be in the assembly area, on the grid, and about to go out on that Grand Prix circuit?
It's really exciting, really. It's an amazing track to drive around. I'm just looking forward to getting out there and trying to get a good spot in like the grid. But we'll see what happens.
Sure, you've watched many races around here as well. Best of luck. They're firing the cars up now, so let's move to the middle. Piers, final thoughts ahead of the race?
I'm looking forward to an excellent race. We saw last year great slipstreaming action here at Silverstone. I'm expecting the same again.
Right, well, Ben, let's turn around the other way. There's no cars over there, but there's plenty around this way. Why don't we face this way, Piers, the other way, and the cars will go up behind us. There you can see, right now, they are rolling out. The wait is finally over. We had to wait yesterday. We couldn't go racing because of the rain. No rain today. Round 5 of GB4 Championship is now go. Let's go to our commentator, Lewis McGlade.
Yes, indeed. Finally, we are ready to go racing after a very long Saturday where no racing went ahead for the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. We are here for what will be our 4th race of the season, still technically classified as round 5 of the championship, as we'll see them race off. Tom Mills getting a 100% pole position rate thus far in 2023. He's been the man to beat when it comes to qualifying. When it comes to the races, as much as he's the top of the timesheets when it comes to the championship standings, the likes of Fairbairn, the likes of McNeely are giving a run when it comes to race victories. Just a single race win for Mills back in Alton Park, and that came in that race too, in the very tricky and treacherous conditions on the Monday morning. Piers Pryor's joining me in the commentary booth. We'll let them roll off the formation lap. Of course, tyres-wise, got a few drivers taking brand new sets out there because they didn't really have any running. Who's that having a stall in the background?
Sid Smith, or is that McNeely?
No, it's Smith.
Yes, Sid Smith having a stall in the Fox Motorsport car there. But yes, everyone will be on 4 new tyres because, of course, qualifying being wet, and then the race not happening.
Never happening, yeah.
So the only option they have is new tyres. So 4 new tyres for everyone.
Yeah, no one's been able to scrub them or anything. So genuinely, this is the thing, for the first time in GB4 that we've ever run it, everyone is on equal tyres in equal stead. Let's see what happens though, and let's see our grid for round 5 of the championship. Tom Mills starting once again from pole position. Colin Queen will start alongside on that front row of the grid for Fortec Motorsports. Behind them will be Jeremy Fairbairn, of course, the race victor from the previous round in race 1 of the championship, in that long battle with Tom Mills. Cooper Webster starting alongside. He's had a couple of podiums. Harry Reynolds starting from 5th position, with Jack Clifford for the KMR Sport team starting from 6th, the 3rd of the KMR Sport drivers. Jason Conzo starting from 7th position, with Sid Smith after that stall he's managed to get back going again and returns to his position of 8th. Ruhan Olver starts from 9th position, with Liam McNeely, again a race winner in the championship, starting from 10th position. He's got more pace than that shows. Didier Kulkarni starts from 11th position, with Harry Burgoyne Jr., who we caught up with, starting from 12th. Thomas Lee and Dylan Hodgkin start from 13th and 14th position, and then on his return to the championship, the man, the myth, the legend, it is Christian Lester starting his way from 15th on the grid. He's just gonna, I don't know what his plans are for the weekend, but I'm sure take it one step at a time. It's been a lot more open this year, I'll say that.
Great to see Christian Lester back on the grid. He's been popping in and out of the GB4 field, and it's great to have him here.
he's definitely a character in his own right, and got a sort of a cult following in the background. So
mostly from us, to be honest.
Yeah, we love Christian Lester, but also you can see the drivers how hard they're working to get any sort of temperature they can into these tyres. Although the racing line is dry now, you can see offline it's still a bit damp. And these GB4 cars not having the most downforce, or not quite as much as GB3 in comparison, they take a little while to heat their tyres up.
Yeah, and now obviously what we saw in the previous race with tyre pressures and stuff when we were racing in GB3 a little bit earlier on this morning, that's going to play a big part in this as well, surely? You know, getting the tyre pressures right, getting the temperatures and such right, and making sure that you nail the race start. It's all going to be turned up to 11 compared to a normal race start.
Yes, of course, we're doing the GB4, but we had the GB3 race not long ago. If you want to, you can go back and watch that on MSV TV YouTube channel. And basically we had the two JHR cars having great speed at the start of the race, and clearly it was either a good setup option that JHR took, or alternatively just the drivers heating those. You could be heating those drivers hitting those tyres up quickly. You're pointing out something on the screen, Lewis.
I was going to say Fairbairn's, like, he's only started warming them now. Quite a lot of drivers, well, everyone was warming, but I don't feel that Fairbairn's putting quite as much heat into this tyre.
Well, we'll have to see how that affects the grid, but don't forget, weaving left and right is one way of getting some surface temperature into the tyres, but also you can use the brakes to heat the brake disc, which heats the caliper, then it heats the wheel, which then heats the tyre from the inside out as well. And a lot of the drivers potentially will be leaning more on that than scrubbing the tyres, but you can see Tom Mills working the car very hard, as is Colin Queen in second place.
Yeah, could we get 4 different winners from 4 races? Again, the race winners so far this season being Fairbairn in that first race, Mills, and then McNeely back in Alton Park. He's going to take our first race victory, of course, here on Sunday. Our first race victory in GB4 around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit of 2023. A reminder that Tom Mills will be starting this one from pole position in that grey and blue KMR sport car. Directly alongside that front row will be Colin Queen, who's been impressive, has picked up a podium in that third race, but yet to take a podium in either race 1 or race 2 this season from the normal grid spots. There's only that reverse grid race where he managed to work his way up the order. That 62 that's going to be starting on the left-hand side. Hopefully, no jump starts in this one. They'll roll their way into their grids. 18 minutes onto the clock, should be roughly 9 laps of racing around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Christian Lester finds his final way into the final grid spot, and we'll get ourselves ready for round 5 of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC, and that short 190-metre run down towards the first corner is about to begin. A slightly slower start from those in the mid-pack, and a big load of wheel spin. I think that's from Dylan Hodgkin as well, off the rear of the field. A great translation on the start, by the way, though, from Cooper Webster, who's got himself up into second position as they race their way down towards Magnus Beckers and Chapel. I think Colin Queen might be losing out not only to 1 car, but potentially to 2, as Fairbairn's got to the inside as they head their way through. Queen's able to fend them off.
Yeah, Queen managing to hold on to that third place after he lost second at the grid, but that is at the inside, the number 3 going up the inside of Chapel. That's a good move from Clifford, but also we saw at the back of the field at the start, Hodgkin with a 1 tyre fire on the in the bright pink car.
Yeah, that was wild. What actually happened there?
It's probably the inside tyre just spinning up. So one of the tyres spinning and not the other one. These cars run with a fairly open differential, so you do get that sometimes, especially when the circuit is damp. But no harm done there. We also saw Jason Konzo, who we spoke to before the race start on the assembly area, unfortunately having a very slow start and a big lock up at the background for, is that Ruhanal?
Kulkarni.
Konzo, sorry.
It'll be Kulkarni that's just locked up there. Big one as well, and he's going to lose out an awful lot of time potentially back into the clutches of Konzo, as we're seeing the likes of Burgoyne Jr. battling it out with Dylan Hodgkin, and of course, you know, Sid Smith sat behind his teammate. McNeely's worked up a little bit of progress towards the start of this race, but struggling with a bit of oversteer, it seems, on that car.
Sorry for the big sharp intake of breath there. I saw McNeely having 3 wobbles as he went through. I think that was that was a scary corner through Farm, because it's completely flat out there normally, but these cars still not quite up to full temperature in terms of tyres yet, and we can see there Burgoyne Jr. making his way past Kulkarni on the exit of the loop.
Yeah, the battle between them, of course, Kulkarni having a couple of issues on that. Big load of tyre temperature being put in by Sid Smith, who's behind his teammate. Seeing Konzo there coming through the foreground, a shot in that black car with the white highlight around the number. There is Kulkarni looking to the inside in the white and red machine of that, pretty much the plain white Graham Brunton race. And there's a couple of red and black highlights on Burgoyne Jr.'s car, and you cannot miss the distinctive pink and black of the broken front wing that Dylan Hodgkin's got. I've noticed that.
Yeah, I didn't
didn't see any contact that Dylan Hodgson had. Maybe that was at turn 1 where he must have just clipped someone, because that front wing is hanging down. He'll be struggling with a little bit of understeer where the front doesn't quite have as much grip as the rear when he goes through the higher speed corners. Let's have a look at replay.
Yeah, see if we can spot anything in there. So Fairbairn was to the inside of Colin Queen, racing his way through. A couple of snaps of oversteer through the middle of that, but that was actually quite nicely done by Colin Queen. There was what happened to Lee being spun off, and I can only assume that that might have been where some of the damage had come from.
That makes sense, yeah. There must have been contact going into Maggots, and then as they came through Beckett's, we go side by side in the background. No, not quite.
It was McNeely actually has made his way past Clifford.
Yes, McNeely showing a great pace that he showed at the first round at Alton Park. He'd be disappointed with his qualifying. It was very, very wet for qualifying yesterday, and unfortunately we didn't get to race in the wet yesterday, but McNeely making his way back up through the field. His next target will be Clifford.
No,
Reynolds.
It'll be Reynolds as he's working his way up there. Unfortunately, into the pit lane is Ruan Alva. I could only imagine there might have been issues. It looks like there probably would have been a rear puncture.
Yeah, you can see that right rear tyre has had some sort of issue in there. They've just changed that.
Yeah. That's a bit of a shame, because of course the tyres they only get 6 tyres. It's a set and a half of tyres, these Pirelli tyres through the weekend. If you have a puncture on one, you don't get an extra one, right? It's just that one's just gone in the bin.
Of course, everyone wants to run the new tyres as much as possible, because newer tyres, once they are warm, are faster than a used set. Once you get through a heat cycle in a tyre, for some reason they just lose the overall grip, and you end up sliding around a little bit more. So unfortunately, it's a good thing actually that these championship drivers are limited to 6 tyres, you just mentioned, which means that they have to choose when they use their new tyres. Most of the drivers, and in fact all of the drivers on the grid, having to go with 4 new tyres in this one, but yeah, it'll be whether you choose left or right hand side new tyres for race number 3 later on will be a decision.
Indeed. Well, 2 laps down, 7 will be left to go, with them running roughly pretty much bang on 2-minute lap times. There's a 2-minute 1.4 from our race leader of Tom Mills, who pulls out to 1.6 seconds ahead of Cooper Webster. There is confirmation at the bottom right of that lap time that's been set. That is really fast, because it is around about half a second faster than anyone else, as he pulls out quite a gap on the likes of Webster. Webster, though, does have to worry about the pressures from Colin Queen. This is what we're seeing on our screen now, the battle for second position in this race. That number 37, the Evans Grand Prix team. There's more blue on this, so that's how you kind of differentiate it, at least from the front end, from the KMR sport cars. But you don't have to differentiate from this guy that's getting down the inside. That is the move from Colin Queen, and that number 62, the yellow highlighted Fortec car, the driver that's being coached bit by, of course, GB4 champion Nicholas Taylor, who I'm sure will be pretty happy with what he's seeing from Colin Queen so far.
Yeah, big lump of curve taken by Queen through Vale, which has cost him a little bit of time, but you can see that the slipstream is definitely effective. But it was good driving from Cooper Webster. He realised that I've got a car on my inside. If I just carry a bit more speed around the outside, I should be able to hold the position, and he is so far. Of course, Cooper Webster has a lot of experience racing in simulators. On iRacing, is one of the best sim racers on the planet, basically. He's up right there with the best of them, and showing he can do it in real life as well.
Yeah, he's been doing really well racing in the main esports series that he does, which is the Porsche Tag Heuer Esports Super Cup, which, yes, is a mouthful, but also has got a fair amount of real-world racing back in Australia. It's quite odd to see him out in GB4, but he's doing very well. There is the front wing being detonated from Dylan Hodgson's car. I did wonder as to whether it was going to make its way through this race, but Dylan Hodgson, of course, having to skip over after that front wing go. He'll be returning his way to pit lane to have a new front wing added onto that. That's a big shame for him.
Yeah, big shame for Dylan Hodgson. I'm sure the team will manage to get that fixed, hopefully, for later on this afternoon, but you could see just how wet it was on the grass and how much rain we had yesterday. As soon as he went off, those tyres went completely slick and splashing through the grass. So yeah, any mistakes in this race will be harshly punished. And of course, not only is it the grass, but you've also got the exit tarmac on the exit of this corner, for example, where if you run wide too many times, you might be getting a penalty for exceeding track limits.
What's that flag for?
That is the, I don't know what some people call it, the oil flag, some people call it the slippery surface flag, but it's not just for slippery surface, it's also used for debris. It's basically if there's a change of situation to the surface of the road, so whether that's oil, water or debris. And of course Dylan Hodgson's front wing did eject itself from his car and is laying off the racing line.
Yeah, seeing this battle for second position, obviously they've come through all of that. Once again, Colin Queen's going to try and get past the inside into Stowe. This time he's much further alongside. Cooper Webster's going to go for the up and under, but this one's not going to work. So that is a good move completed by Colin Queen. But with how these cars race, I mean, yeah, they've got 160 brake horsepower. The slipstream they push out, we've seen this throughout the entire running through 2022. they are very raceable cars when you can keep really close. You can basically keep right under the rear wing of the car ahead. Yes, there is some dirty air that spat out from the rear end of these cars, but it means for me that Cooper Webster's certainly not done with this race. He has plenty of lap speed to get after it. Of course, the lap time we've got coming through it is still yet another fastest lap being set from Tom Mills over the previous running of the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. So he is starting to run away quite a bit at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, we spoke to Tom Mills on the grid, didn't we? And he was saying if I can get away at the front and break the toe, then that'll hopefully be my race, because he really trusts his pace at this season. I feel like he's a very confident position. He's always saying, you know, yeah, don't mind if the rain comes, doesn't matter if it's dry. We see him fighting in the background.
Yeah, Fairbairn and Reynolds. Reynolds will be trying to go for it, that elite motorsports car. So Reynolds goes to the left over with the yellow highlighted black car. The inside being taken by Fairbairn, of course, race winner in the opening round of the season. There is Dylan Hotchins still running around without a front wing. Being told they might not have a spare ready to go. That's going to be tough to drive around.
Yes, the front wing does produce not an extreme amount of downforce, but definitely does add to the load you have on the front tyres, and he'll be struggling with understeers. We see Reynolds going up the inside into Copse, not quite making that move done. It was a bit late, I think, for me, and he's going to lose some time because of that sort of half move he made.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that if you're going to go for a move down into Copse, for one, you need to be pretty much alongside going into it, but it's kind of one of those ones you can't do a half-hearted moves. The half-hearted moves are the ones that's actually probably going to cost you more in the long run. You need to send it and go for it. You can see the difference in body language between these two cars going through Maggotts Becker's Chapel. Fairbairn's a lot more driven on the rear of the car. It's a lot more slidey. He was really fighting it way through. I will say Reynolds looked a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more calm, a little bit more sedate on its run through. And I mean, clearly they're both very fast, but my thing is I kind of get the feeling that Fairbairn might be overdriving the car at the moment. That's what I can see.
Potentially, the car was definitely moving around more for Fairbairn, but not only is it these two, also the fighting that they're doing is bringing Liam McNeely into this fight in the Fox Motorsport car, the orange and white car behind with the dark blue sort of details as well. And we know he's had good pace. He's actually catching them at a couple of tenths per sector, and it's definitely going to become a three-way fight for fourth place very shortly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to be fair, McNeely's been sat off the rear end of them, but between these three, at least at the moment, you know, on the timesheets, you would lean more towards McNeely. Although, to be fair, the last lap they were all, I mean, they can't really go much faster because they're all just stuck in the same part. I get the feeling that they're all probably balanced pretty much on the same level of pace, meaning that if Reynolds did manage to make his way past Fairbairn, they're probably going to stay pretty close until the end of the race. We're going to see at least a potential move on the race up towards Brooklands here. There'll be 4 laps to go when they cross the line this time by, as the 17 gets over to the left-hand side. That will be Reynolds trying to send one in, but this time, once again, not brave enough to try and send it all the way around the outside of Brooklands. And I don't blame him at all. He's going to try it at Luffield and try the up and under, potentially down to the Copse for the second consecutive lap.
Cut back there was what Reynolds was looking for, not quite getting it done as the gap slightly extends. Fairbairn just getting a good exit. Liam McNeely still looking ahead, thinking these two fighting is doing me an absolute solid. As we see defensive Fairbairn goes into Copse, that'll leave him vulnerable into Maggotts and Beckett's. Will he go wide? No, kept it on the circuit, so that's good driving, but he's going to be definitely under more pressure than he was the previous lap, having to go defensive into Copse.
They did have a little look there at the Graham Brunton Racing team, of course. Harry Burgoyne Jr., 10th position at the moment. He's behind Konzo after his rise up the order, courtesy of issues at the start of the race. Konzo moving up inside the top 10, Burgoyne Jr. with him as well. But this is the fight, though, for 4th position. A 3-way fight between Fairbairn, between Reynolds and between McNeely as well. That slipstream's being taken by the pair of the cars behind. And once again, the 17's quite close, but Reynolds is not trying anything just yet. Wasn't really close enough to do anything into Stowe. And like you say, I don't know, I get the feeling that potentially that Fairbairn might be running slightly... There's not too much they can do aero-wise, but I do get the feeling they might be running this car a little bit slimmer on the wings, because it just seems to be fast enough in a straight line to keep those at bay.
Yes, of course. The more wing angle you run, or the more aerodynamics more downforce you run, the more drag you have, which means you're slightly slower in a straight line, but means you're faster in the corners. And with the long straights here at Silverstone, they'll be definitely running I'd imagine they'll be running a slightly less downforce. It looks like the angle of the rear wing is slightly flatter on those Fairbairn and McNeely cars, and potentially Harry Reynolds, which is why he hasn't managed to get a full overlap quite yet. But you never know, he can send a dive in, but this gap has kind of equalised, so Harry Reynolds right in the middle between McNeely and Fairbairn with about 3 or 4 tenths in between, although still looking for the slipstream, still trying to put pressure on Fairbairn in that KMR Sport car.
Yeah, I've got to say, I mean, I'm looking at that rear wing thinking there's definitely more downforce on the rear end. This is the Dylan Hodgson team that we can see here. They're all just kind of waiting around seeing, maybe... We'll see what happens with Hodgson. At the moment, he's running in 13th position, so he's still ahead of Alva and, of course, Lee, who had the earlier issues in the race. I think it might be a retirement to this one. He has returned himself into pit lane, of course. Alva had problems with a rear puncture through the race. Still on this battle. This is kind of one of those ones where you're in the race and you're thinking, if I do have more downforce in the car ahead, how am I finding a way through? Because at the moment there just doesn't seem to be the options. There'll be roughly 3 laps left to go in this race, so the options are running out for Reynolds to try and make his way past.
Yeah, just 3 laps to go. Reynolds is closer than he's been into Magnus and Beckett's, but not quite carrying the speed through Magnus and Beckett's and onto the hangar straight, although he again still in the slipstream. You can see Fairbairn just trying to break the toe. One eye in the mirror, looks left, looks right. He's now thinking he needs to go defensive. Harry Reynolds follows him, not quite getting an overlap there, so Fairbairn doing a good job of defending once again, but now McNeely's looking at Harry Reynolds to see if he can get a place.
Yeah, I did think that that Fairbairn had run a little bit wide going through Chapel, got out onto the curb just a touch. Obviously it's a little bit slippery out there and just lost a little bit of drive out onto the hangar straight, but unfortunately Reynolds was still not able to take advantage of it. He runs wide as they head through Club and out onto the Hamilton straight. McNeely is hungry behind as pit board. I like that pit board.
Very unique.
That is top marks for the Dylan Hodgson race team. I think that livery, the livery of that car looks so good.
Yeah, it stands out, doesn't it? A bright pink car with all the different flashes, and they've got very much a theme going with their pit board as well. It's easy to spot from the circuit. Sometimes pit boards, they all look the same, and you're trying to find your own one can be quite difficult, and a bit of extra information about how long. It is actually quite difficult to find them sometimes because you do fly past them at 120, 130 miles an hour. They're not there for long in your vision.
Did you have anything unique on yours?
I said prior and it was pink. So
yeah, I was going to say surely it was pink with you. I know you do. You've got yourself a bright pink racing helmet. So
yes.
Clearly there's a theme there as well.
Yes, exactly. I'm liking the theme that they've gone with Dylan Hodgson Racing. But eyes back to the battle we've got here. Oh, Harry Burgoyne having a go at Jason Conzo now. Burgoyne in the white car, Conzo in that black Oldfield Motorsport car. It's good to see Conzo out again, but I believe, at least for the next round, he's not going to be back for a while. But it's great to have him on the grid, and he's definitely a character and very eloquent and enthusiastic about his racing.
Yeah, I think Burgoyne Jr. might actually be able to go for a move here as they head out onto the start-finish straight. GBR holding out the pit board to pass on some details. I get the feeling there might be a move down into T1 for Burgoyne Jr., but we'll look at this fight for 4th place. McNeely's just dropping off the rear end of it a touch at the moment as he'll come through. I am getting a note, by the way, the 48 and the 99, that is McNeely and Smith, both of the Fox Motorsports cars have just received a 5-second time penalty for track limits, so McNeely is no longer really a part of this fight.
Yeah, McNeely also may fall down a position behind Connor Clifford as well, because that's 4.2 seconds behind him. But so this fight isn't really his for a position now, as we see Harry Reynolds looking around the outside of Vale. That can be done, but you have to get a long way, or pretty much all the way alongside. Fairbairn defending well, just placing his car exactly where he needs to. I'm sure that Harry Reynolds will be getting sick at the back of that Kevin Mills racing car, because he's been right behind it for pretty much the whole race.
Yeah, this is where the frustration builds. I mean, for McNeely right now, he kind of doesn't want whether he knows or not, he doesn't really want these two to fight too hard so that he can potentially pull out a bit of a gap on Jack Clips, because there might be time for that gap to be pulled out over the 5-second point. We'll be heading on to the final lap of the race. There's one more chance for them to traverse the 5.9-kilometre circuit at the Silverstone Grand Prix, as Mills is leading by over 4 seconds. That's a very slow exit though from Fairbairn, and this could be it for Reynolds. I'm thinking it's going to be done before they even get to Brooklands. The 17 on the outside, that black and yellow car, has made the move up to 4th place as Fairbairn's dropped backwards.
Yeah, Fairbairn got a slow exit out of the loop and through Aintree. It looks like he's got a bit of front left tyre graining, which he's clearly struggling with. Actually, they're all struggling with that a little bit. McNeely's tyre is looking a bit better. You can see a band of dark around their left-hand front tyre, and that's where the tyre surf's starting to rip up, and they'll be struggling with a bit of understeer there. Maybe it's affecting potentially potentially affecting Fairbairn more than it is Reynolds, but now Fairbairn is under pressure from Liam McNeely, although this won't ultimately be for position after McNeely's penalty.
No, I think McNeely's still going to try and go for something because he still thinks he's racing for position, and to be fair, as much as we were hearing in GB3 that Mackenzie Cresswell was well aware as to the other penalties for the likes of Matthew Rees and such during that race, I'm not sure in GB4 if that's exactly where they're looking. We'll take a look at a replay. As you can see in that slow-mo, you can really see that graining there. Like you say, the band, you particularly on Fairbairn, on his front left, the one furthest away, you can really see that graining coming through.
Yeah,
that's bad.
Yeah, you can see those almost like a patch, and it's dark. That's where generally it happens because the surface of the tyre is hot and the carcass of the tyre is cold. You end up with the tyre almost ripping and falling off, like you're rubbing out something on paper with an eraser. You get the bits of rubber.
Yeah.
Same thing happens, and then when that happens, you can see him understeering just off the circuit, barely being able to keep on track, and it really feels horrible. Like you just don't have as much grip on that tyre.
Would this have come from? You remember how we were saying earlier that his car was like a lot more animated, it was a lot more moving around. Does this come from that?
Potentially overheating the surface of the tyre can cause that, so a bit more sliding will not help, but it's also partly the setup and the way you drive your tyres. We see it in Formula 1 with blistering and graining sometimes, and you can affect it by the way you drive, both how aggressively you turn the steering, the way you drive and the car's set up. You've got more understeer, the front tyres are scrubbing more, so that you might be more susceptible to it, or even the way that the car is set up, with Cambers and Carson. Even Tom Mills at the front of the field has still got that front left drainage, you can see.
Yeah, I mean, his pace is still pretty fast. He's going genuinely around about a second a lap faster than everyone. He's come out of the final corner. He's 4.8 seconds. Well, it'll be well over 5 as he crosses the line, as Tom Mills takes his second win of the season here in the 2023 season of the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. Colin Queen on the podium behind, joined by Webster, as we'll see the likes of Fairbairn across the line behind Reynolds, who pulled away quite nicely. McNeely with a time penalty, but more drivers have been given a time penalty at the end of this. McNeely, Smith, Kulkarni and Alva all receiving 5-second time penalties for track excursions.
Yes, that'll be a penalty for leaving the circuit on the exit of a corner, like, for example, Copse and Stowe. You do that too many times, the stewards will pick up on it, a message gets sent from the marshals or to the stewards, and the stewards will say, right, you're only allowed to do it 1, 2, 3 times. I think it's the third time you get a penalty, or is it 3 strikes and then you start getting a penalty? I'm not sure. We'll have to touch up on that.
You're the racing driver. I mean, I don't know how many times you were exceeding track limits.
Well, it depends on the corner, but you leave the circuit too many times, they'll give you a penalty, because of course you are gaining an advantage by leaving the circuit on the exit of a corner, because it means you can carry more speed through the middle of the corner. But anyway, disappointing for those drivers. I'm sure they'll do better to try and stay on the circuit later on, but Tom Mills, a resounding victory.
Yeah, you can see they're the fastest lap that he did in the race. It just popped up there, a 2:01.240. His last lap of the race was a 2:02.8. These are only 18-minute races. They are graining the tyres quite a lot, but clearly it worked for Mills, because even though he was struggling towards the end, he was still the fastest car on track. I'm pretty sure every single lap that Tom Mills did in that race was the fastest lap on the he was faster than everyone every single lap that he did.
Yeah, it's a good British win for him, ending up 5 seconds in the lead. So yeah, even if he had managed to get a 5-second penalty, he would have won, but he didn't. He was well within track limits. Colin Queen will be happy with second place as well, and Cooper Webster, unfortunately, will probably be slightly disappointed to be overtaken from second place to end up in third, but still a good result for him on the podium for Evans GP as well, a new team to this series this year.
Yeah, of course, Webster did get the podium back in Alton Park. Colin Queen actually getting back-to-back podiums, if you account for that third race at Alton Park. For anyone who, again, didn't join our coverage earlier, and you might think, yeah, hang on, this is the second race of the weekend. No, we did have the race yesterday rained off, cancelled due to, or delayed due to wet weather conditions. Yeah, we'll see what happens with round 4, but right now, here in round 5 of the championship, things are nice and dry and very tricky indeed. Again, a sensational drive from Tom Mills to pull a 5.3-second gap on the field. It was quite spread out throughout all of it. The closest gap across the line was that between Burgoyne Jr. And McNeely, actually, after his penalty. But of course, Burgoyne Jr. was having quite a long battle throughout that race with the likes of Konzo and Smith, who were all separated. They'll all return their way into pit lane, and Tom Mills will be a very happy driver indeed, taking his third podium of the year. But you've got to remember how many he had back in 2022. I remember him starting out the season with a handful of podiums. He just couldn't stop finishing on the podium, to be honest. I think every one of the first three race weekends of the year, he ended up on the podium in one of the races. So obviously, you know, big support from the KMR Sport team, getting a hug from his sister, and we'll hand down to Chris McCarthy, who's going to catch up with our podium.
Brilliant to see Tom Mills celebrating his first win on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. We're just going to let him take his crash helmet off. I'm down here in the pit lane now. You can see Tom Mills first, Colin Queen finishing in second, and Cooper Webster in third. He's just doing a very quick debrief with the team. I'm just going to see if I can jump in while he gets his cap on. I know they were getting worried about track limits because there were a lot of track limits penalties coming out. Tom, congratulations, second win of the season, but your first here on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. That must be very special.
Yeah, Silverstone was always a bit of a bogey track for us. Myself, it didn't really suit my driving style, and the team struggled a bit last year, but we really hit the nail on the head this year. The car was really good. We worked really hard in testing. We started a bit on the back foot compared to some of the other lads, but yeah, no, as soon as I got away, just got my head down for the first few laps and built the gap, and then just trying to save the tyre. I mean, the tyre at front left took a caning, but yeah, it's good.
We'll take a quick look at it. You'll be able to see there, Ben, if you have a quick look. So, was that causing you some issues towards the end then?
Yeah, when it starts graining like that, you could probably get through the graining, but in a race like that, it was just there. Everyone has it. It's just the nature of F4 cars on this track, like with the really long corners like Stowe and stuff. But yeah, no, mega race.
This must be a really special moment for you. Who would you like to thank?
Yeah, well, it's just massive thanks to the team. The team did a fantastic job. The car's brilliant, and I don't know if I'm in for the whole season yet, so just thanks to all my sponsors for making sure I can keep going round by round at the minute.
You're doing a fantastic job. Congratulations, GB4 round 5 winner Tom Mills, his second of the season. Colin, we want to have a quick chat with yourself as well on the podium, and second of the season. You must be really happy with that.
Yeah, no, it was a good fight back, but you know, it could have been a lot better. The start, don't know what happened. It just it didn't go to third for some reason. So yeah, lost a position there. And then yeah, I got past Cooper. You know, after a lap of trying to pass him, and then yeah, just you know, overheated the rears a little bit and just fell off the pace. So you know, it was a good, you know, good pace for a while, and then just fell off. So, but it was good points for us for sure.
Very good points, and that your best result of the season so far. I know you got a podium in the reverse grid race last time, so to go out there, qualify, and get on the podium, that must mean a lot.
Yeah, definitely. But you know, our pace is P1, so you know, I believe that wholeheartedly that in the next round to come, next race, it's going to be similar conditions to this. Hopefully, you know, we can find some tweaks in the car, and then you know, go on from there, trying to make as many positions as possible.
Well done. Colin Queen finishing in second. We're going to try and find Cooper Webster, who finished in third. Cooper Webster, I believe, is over here. Congratulations. Second podium as well for yourself, and at Silverstone. Not a bad place to do it, hey? How does that feel?
Yeah, it doesn't get a lot better. Maybe a win would have been a little bit better, but yeah, I can't ask for much more. 2 podiums now. Yeah, I'm pretty pleased, and I think I drove pretty well in that race. I got a grouse start, and I was really stoked with that because I was unsure about how it was going to play out at the beginning there. But yeah, just not the pace of the other two cars in front of me. I did my best, and I just really struggled like in the last section there. But yeah, I did what I could, and third was the best I could do.
I mean, does this track really put you to the test? It's a long lap, isn't it? And some of the toughest corners this country has to offer.
Yeah. I mean, the track is challenging. To put one good lap together does take a lot because, yeah, like you said, the track is really long. It's a bit boring on the straights because, you know, you just kind of get your head down and focus on the top speed. But yeah, this is probably the longest track that I've raced on, and I'm really enjoying it.
Well, congratulations, second podium. I'm sure more to come as well. We'll leave you to go and celebrate. One person who was actually down in the pit lane with me watching whilst the guys are getting ready, Christian Mansell, FIA Formula 3 driver, GB4 championship, of course, new now coming in over the last couple of seasons. Tell us, you know, how it must feel for these guys going in their first season of single-seaters.
Oh, I remember my first season in single-seaters, and I remember the excitement, the feeling, the passion of being in that position, and I just think it's so cool to kind of come here and relive that feeling, because it's something that doesn't sort of escape you. Like, it's such a vital path in your career to starting and having a good beginning to your career. And you know, I think the GB4 cars, I watched the race. It was a lights to flag victory by Tom Mills, and you know, I don't think you can really ask for anything more in that respect. I think he did a very good job, and yeah, I'm very, very excited to be here.
Well, thanks for your time. We're going to have to go up to the podium now. We'll go back to Lewis McGlade.
Cheers, Chris, and yes, thank you to the drivers as well. Good chats with the likes of Mills, Queen, and Webster, as well as various others. I mean, I gotta say, it's been an impressive season thus far from Tom Mills. Yes, he's the only returning driver. Yes, realistically speaking, he should be the driver we're looking at when it comes to race victory, but he's dealing with the pressure very well. Up onto the third step of the podium, it'll be Cooper Webster after a, I mean, he put it as a pretty decent drive. I think so too, to grab third position again, his second podium of the season. Colin Queen up to his second consecutive podium of the season as well, after that podium back in race 3 of Alton Park. And then on to the top step of the podium, it will of course be Tom Mills, taking his second victory of the season, his fourth victory in totality when it comes to the GB4 Championship, partnered by the BRDC. He had 2 victories last year, 8 podiums last year as well. To add the 3 podiums to the mix as well, Tom Mills crosses the line to take his 11th podium in total of the GB4 Championship. Turning into a stunning driver, and he's passed well over 100 points already in the opening 4 races. Our championship leader on top here, as his main championship rival was McNeely, who finished quite a bit further down the order. We'll take a look then at highlights from the race. Highlights from GB4 round number 5, big wheel spins off of the start from some of those down the order, the likes of Hotchin, and unfortunately Konzo getting a very slow start to the race, but it was great up towards the front for the likes of Colin Queen and the likes of Tom Mills as well. Fairbairn getting a decent one, but a better one from Cooper Webster, who managed to work his way around the outside and take over second position on the race down towards Magus Beckers and Chapel. Queen under pressure from Fairbairn as they would head their way through, and then it was eyes backwards, unfortunately, from those in this grouping. Looking at the charges of the likes of Reynolds, a big moment from Lee being sent off, unfortunately for him. A damaged front wing, then disintegrated a little bit going into Magus Beckers and Chapel from the likes of course, Dylan Hotchin, who came through, and unfortunately that damage from the front wing came from the first lap of the race and really went for it. Then Colin Queen was on the attack of Cooper Webster. He'd sent his way down the inside coming into the Stowe section, and he was able to work his way through into second place. Across the line though, Tom Mills taking his second win of the season, and a fantastic drive as well. Results from the race will see Tom Mills taking the top step for the second time in the season, but of course, again, his 4th race win overall when it comes to his GB4 career. Colin Queen in second, and Cooper Webster taking 3rd position, quite a long way back. It was a dominant display from Tom Mills, who was the fastest driver across the race lap, but was basically faster than everyone on every single lap of the race. Reynolds and Fairbairn in 4th and 5th, Clifford, McNeely, Burgoyne Jr., Smith and Konzo rounding out the top 10. Konzo doing a good job to come back inside that top 10 after the stall on the race start. Kulkarni and Leicester finishing on the lead lap. Dylan Hotchin unfortunately having the issues with his front wing through that race. Same with Ruan Alva with he had a puncture on the rear, and then of course Lee retiring from the race after just a couple of laps of proceedings in the first race of this weekend. It's supposed to be the second race of the weekend, but alas, not the case. We'll head down to Piers though, who's catching up with a few of our other drivers who didn't finish on the podium.
We're down here at the media pen. We've managed to get Aditya Kulkarni, or Adi. Adi, that was a good fun race for you. It's movement throughout the field. Talk to us about your race.
The start was really good. I got about 3 positions, but the problem was I went off a bit, and after that I had a water leak the whole race, so engine temperature was too high and it was just a bit slow, really.
Yeah, of course, when the engine temperature goes up, you lack a bit of power, but what's it like to race these cars around the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit? Of course, we managed to, unfortunately didn't get to race yesterday because of the weather, but much different day today.
Yeah, the Silverstone circuit in the dry is really quick, the corners are really fun, and you grow up watching F1 on the circuit, and to get to race on it is a real pleasure.
We saw that some of the cars were struggling with front left graining. Did you experience that?
Yeah, it's a really heavy circuit because of the speeds, and it wears down the tyres a lot, especially through right-handers because all the load's on the left of the car.
And just talk to us about how that feels when the graining comes. What does it do?
You can feel a slight vibration through the wheel, and you tend to understeer towards the exit a lot, which hurts the tyre life and the total lap time.
Brilliant. And of course, we've got the reverse grid coming up later on this afternoon. How do you think your chances are in that one?
Starting P2 for it should be better because I'll have an engine that works, and I think I can do well in it.
Well, we look forward to that, Addy. Brilliant. Thanks very much for chatting to us. I think we've actually got the Elite Motorsport driver coach, Tom Lebon, of course, GB3 last year. Come on, Tom. Let's have a word. You're helping coach some of the Elite Motorsport guys, and are you helping Harry Reynolds in GB4 as well?
Yeah, so I'm coaching Reynolds in GB4, and if the juniors of the GB3 team need a hand, then I go over and help them and kick their asses a little bit.
Brilliant, I'm sure you do. And Harry's been showing some great pace this season so far already, and also he's showed some good racing and managed to get past in that race as well. How's he been getting on?
Yeah, he's been getting on really well. His first day round GP was the Thursday, so on the back foot. But our pace in the drive's been pretty strong, but I think we've got a little bit more to find in the wet.
Yes, of course.
Luckily it's dry. Luckily it's dry today, so I think that plays to our strengths.
Yeah, strange how the qualifying was in the wet, and of course we're very much nicer day today than it was yesterday. Reverse grid later on. What do you think he can do from there?
I don't know exactly where we're starting, but we did a good job at Alton, so hopefully we can get through the pack a little bit. The racing around here is always good, and the toe's pretty powerful today, so hopefully we can go forward and pick up another podium, really.
Toe is powerful. Thanks very much for chatting to us, Tom. Good luck to your drives for the rest of the season. Liam McNeely, why don't you come round here and we'll grab a word with you. Liam, it was a tight race, and unfortunately I think track limits penalty there. Those group ahead of you were fighting, couldn't quite get them though in the end.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good race, we got a good start, and yeah, just a bit unlucky with the penalty, but yeah, I mean, yeah, we had good pace at the start, and it sort of just dropped towards the end. We need to have a little look at that, but yeah, it's got a long wait till the next one, so yeah, we'll find out and get it sorted.
Pretty tricky to go from very, very wet conditions in qualifying. We didn't actually end up racing, of course, yesterday, but very different conditions today, and a little bit of a spoke to Addy and the Fortec guy, and we saw front graining as well. Did you experience that?
Yeah, I had front and rear, so yeah, we'll just have a little look at that. I mean, yeah, we didn't have any sort of practice. I mean, the track's been obviously washed away a bit with the wet, so it's been a bit damp, and maybe it's been caused by a bit of that. But yeah, we'll just have a little look and see what we can find.
Do you reckon there's anything you can do to sort of stop that happening again in race 2, either to the car setup or you're driving?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I think maybe have to adapt a little bit to the sort of the damp and green track from yesterday. But yeah, I mean, there's definitely some things that we can sort of sort out for the next one, and yeah, go from there.
And going back from, of course, Alton Park, you had a very strong debut weekend in the GB4 Championship, coming, I think it was second in the Championship. Are you looking to hopefully mount a championship challenge by the end of the year?
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan. But yeah, we'll see what happens, race by race and round by round sort of thing. So yeah, we'll see what happens and see where we are sort of midway through and see what we can do.
Well, thanks for chatting to us, Liam. We'll catch up with you later on. And I think we've got, yes, Jeremy Fairbairn. Jeremy, of course, races for the KMR Sport team. We saw him racing it hard in that one alongside a lot of the drivers we were spoken to a moment ago. Jeremy, talk to us about that race. That was pretty intense. Sorry, Jack Clifford. Oh my God, right. I'm so sorry. Getting confused with the suits. Jack Clifford. Yeah, let's start that again. Jack Clifford, talk to us about your race.
Well, it was a great first lap because everyone was on sticker rubbers. So the first warm-up lap was really important, making sure to get those tyres pretty much race prepped in one lap, which is good around here because the track's like 6 k's long. First lap was great. Yeah. Got into P5 with the move around the outside of Beckett's. And then held that for a little while. The tyres took a couple of laps to come in properly. Then we had 3 laps where the car was beautiful to push, dropped back to about 6. And then the last few laps, that front left is under a lot of stress around here, so the tyre opens right up. And then it was about not over driving. And yeah, we came home P6, I think. So tidy race, a little bit lonely, but it was all right. Good.
Yeah, it seems like that's sort of the thing that's everyone's mind is the fact that front left tyre is opening up a lot. And you said that there was a few laps in the middle there that the car felt great. Just talk to us about driving these GB4 cars around, the Grand Prix circuit when the tyre is still there.
Yeah, it's a special place to put a lap because of how fast you can go. Like the Maggots-Beckett's complex, like the first 2 kinks are just about flat out at 130, 140 miles an hour. And then we think we're on fire, and then you watch an F1 go through there at 200, so it's crazy. But a lap around here in GB4 is a lot of fun, very special and very high speed.
Very high speed indeed. One more race today. What can you do?
Well, I think we're starting out a P5 for today. So the starts have been good this year. Plan to get a few off the line and then see where we stand after the first lap, and then just push for the best result possible.
Brilliant. Well, I like your description of the new tyres, sticker rubbers. I'm going to be using that. Thanks very much for chatting to us. I think I'll bring and have a good race this afternoon, and we'll finish off the show. Chris is coming in this side. Chris, great to chat to some of the drivers after the race.
I think last time I was that side. Oh, it didn't really
Doesn't matter.
Didn't really matter. Yeah. That was a good race, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Good battle for second.
Yes.
I thought as well.
Yeah. Colin Queen did very well. You caught up with him on the podium. Obviously, I was
tyre.
The tyres were crazy. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah,
right.
And some of the drivers just then, and it seems like because the track's been green and then the sun's coming down and there's not a lot of rubber, and then of course the long corners around here, just as we heard from Jack Clifford, just the tyre opening up as he described it, where it's just the sort of top layer of rubber just gets peeled off almost, and the teams will be looking at that to try and make any setup adjustments to stop that happening later on, because that definitely knocked the pace down towards the end of the race.
And it was track limits as well, wasn't it? That was another thing. I mean, that's going to be through places like Cops, isn't it? We're going to be seeing drivers going 4 wheels over. And that's going to be playing on people's minds when they see the boards going out, penalties. As a driver, you've been in that position of getting penalties and seeing other people get penalties.
Yeah.
What's it like?
Getting flashbacks of the boards coming from race control now. But yeah, of course, Cops and Stowe are the main 2 offenders around here, because they're both very fast, slightly corners, and carry a bit too much speed to the apex, you run wide, and of course in the MSA regulations you're only allowed 2 wheels on the curb, over the curb is not allowed, and that's when the stewards get involved and give you a penalty. So yeah, unfortunate for those drivers, but it's all within their own control, so they'll be learning from that later on.
Well, brilliant to catch up with a lot of drivers, particularly our race winner Tom Mills. Congratulations to him, his first win on the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit, a day he will always remember. But the day isn't done yet. We have a GB3 and a GB4 race coming up after British GT, so make sure you join us this afternoon for 2 fantastic races. For now though, from myself, Piers and Lewis and the rest of the team, it's goodbye.